Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Zip back with you to bring you the latest crypto news. And tonight we've got a good one. We're going to talk about tokenization. We're going to talk about market structure. We're going to talk about a lot more so the macro picture of what is going on. And if by the end of this video, you cannot see the larger frame of reference of what is happening within this environment with XRP, XLM, the crypto market in general, I don't even know how to help anymore. But we'll get into that here in a minute. Again, thank you to all the likes. Thank you to all the subscriptions. Welcome to the channel if you are brand new. The likes, the comments, all that just helps the algorithm. All right. So it just brings more people into this, which we're going to get into and talk about how many folks are getting ready to come into this crypto space. I hope all of you are doing absolutely fantastic out there and you're excited no matter what the price of your project, your coin is doing, because long term, it's not going to matter if you're in solid utility projects, which is what we like to talk about on this channel, like XRP. But let's start to jump into this here. And I want to remind everybody, if you have YouTube content that you want me to put out, please go out to the website here at zipscrypto.com and go ahead and put in what you would want to see. And I've got you Crypto Deuce. I did get your email and about F assets, and I'm working on a video specifically about Flare, and we'll talk about F assets and what your problem you may have been having in that video, because Firelight launched yesterday and we have the opportunity to take that precious XRP and go into it and utilize it and put it to use to earn more yield. That's the name of the game, but we'll get into that into another video. But again, if you have anything that you want to see specifically, go out here and go ahead and put a submission in on a video topic. All right, let's get into this tonight because this is a good one. We're going to talk about everything, but let's listen to Tom Lee and talk about where he thinks this market is right now.
Number two, I think crypto prices have bottomed. And I think that in the next 8 weeks, we're going to shatter the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. I don't think it's going to be a 4-year cycle this time.
Again, we have been talking about this, and it's not just Tom Lee that is speculating about this. It's Raoul Pal, it's others in this environment because of the tailwinds that are going on, which we will talk about here in a minute. This market structure has changed. All right. He believes we're at the bottom. I believe, could it dip a little bit more? Sure. But going in to the last part of Q4 here and going into 2026, everything structurally has changed. We've got too much momentum to have the normal cyclical 4-year patterns. And I'll remind you, we haven't even really had an altcoin season yet. All right. But it is all coming. And that's why you just have to remain patient and keep your focus on your system and where the long term is going and not on what the price is. We have to stay non-emotional in this environment and see that bigger picture. And speaking of the bigger picture, we had Brad Garlinghouse himself at the Binance Crypto Week in Dubai speaking, and we're going to take a bunch of his clips and we're going to talk about them because it sets the stage for why I'm so excited and where I understand the future of this market is going if you're in the right projects, which for me, it's utility-based projects like XRP, HBAR, SHX, XLM, to name just a few. But let's take a listen to what Brad has to say in this first session that we're going to listen to here.
Look, I think crypto has gone through cycles. And when you have risk on, people are excited. They are, now you have kind of a risk off moment. There's uncertainty. I personally will echo some of the things Richard said. There are so many macro factors.
Again, I'm going to pause the video here for a minute because it is so important, especially if you are brand new and you've never been in this environment before. Yes, as Brad was speaking to, we have risk on moments where the FOMO is high. Everyone's excited because they're riding the wave of emotion and they're riding that green chart going up and everyone is flooding in. It happens every time. We can watch what goes on in these markets. And that's why you just have to be patient and focused and don't pay attention to that, because we have our risk off moments as well, as we saw with the liquidity drain starting in October 10th. And if you remember a couple videos ago, we talked about that, how it takes 8 to 10 weeks from that point to get everything back out, all that leverage that was in the markets. And by the way, never use leverage. Do not use leverage, especially in crypto, in such a nascent environment and technology, as this environment is waiting for full breadth of utility in the crypto laws to be substantiated, to give us the foundational roadways of how the institutions can utilize the technology. But we're going to have risk on and risk off. It's part of being in an investment. And again, nothing I say is financial advice. I'm just documenting my journey for you and giving you how I see this market and where I think it's going. Let's continue to listen to what Brad has to say here, because it's vitally important.
That are continuing to provide tailwinds for this industry. That I think as we go into 2026, I don't remember being this optimistic in the last handful of years, where you do have, as Richard said, regulatory clarity in the largest economy in the world. And I think people underprice this. 22% of global GDP is the United States. And this is a market that has been really openly hostile to crypto for 4 or 5 years, or maybe longer. And now you have that has changed significantly pretty quickly, but the institutions are still catching up with that to some degree.
We are definitely, many of us are underestimating the power and the force of the tailwinds that we have seen in 2025. And we still got a few weeks left in 2025, but we are underestimating what is going on long term. Those tailwinds are going to take time. As he said, it takes time now for the institutions to catch up in this market, but we're seeing it every week. We just had Vanguard, the granddaddy of them all, right below BlackRock, come into this environment after for years they said they would never get into the crypto environment and they would not have any offerings. Now we have all the XRP ETFs that are listed on Vanguard. We have the HBAR ETF, Solana. We have all of this. That tailwind is propelling us and is going to propel the price, more importantly, because again, being straight up and honest with you, we're here for the money. We all understand that, and it is coming, but you have to be patient. Just as he said, it takes time for all of this full implementation of the institutions in the backing to come in for us to see the realization of the market and the price of the token. And we're going to listen to this clip here where he talks about speculation and what is changing inside of this market. This market is becoming, and you'll see by the end of this video, even more so hang on, is becoming a non-speculative environment. We know as the laws start to get laid and it becomes less wild, wild west, a lot of these crypto products, a lot of these crypto coins, 19,000, 20,000, whatever, they're going to be wiped out. There are only going to be a few at the end of the day, maybe 30, pick a number, but it's not going to be 20,000 coins out there that are going to survive. It's no different than the dot-com bubble when we saw that transformation after regulation. A lot of those companies did not make it, and that's why it's vitally important that you do your own research and evaluate what projects you're in and what companies are behind those projects, like XRP, like XLM, HBAR. Vitally important that we understand that, but the speculation is going to leave, and it's going to leave us with institutional clarity. And that's why 2026 is absolutely going to be huge for this market. But let's, again, listen to what Brad is saying here.
You're also seeing real world applications where it's not just about the speculation. You're finding easier to use interfaces so that crypto isn't just about the speculation, it's about solving real world problems. And to sustain that long-term optimism, that long-term bull market, I think you're gonna see more and more of that.
Again, real utility, real use cases. Those are the projects that are going to succeed. And keep in mind, it is going to be an interoperable world. All of these technologies have certain niches in which they are working on. For Ripple, global cross-border border movement of money efficiently 24/7. That is where we're going. But the speculation in the wild, wild west is becoming a thing of the past. That's why it is absolutely critical that you pick the right projects. And I'm not telling you which ones to pick. You know which ones we talk about on this channel, but real world utility is what is going to absolutely win the day. Let's take a listen to this now as we talk about the ETFs and what is going on and what we're seeing and what is happening with the inflows. We're watching a dynamic shift within the XRP environment for sure. I think today it was another $30 million that came in to the inflows, and we're just now scratching the surface. But let's listen to what Brad has to say here about the ETFs and what is going out and why it's important for us to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Take the macro view. Don't take the day by day price view of what is happening. But let's
What's
listen
your take on this too? Do you think the ETF floor was overhyped?
Definitely no. Look, obviously what you were describing is all data correct, but I think you got to zoom out a little bit further and realize that this ETFs didn't exist because of the regulatory problems in the United States. They didn't exist. And, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, over $700 million have flown into XRP ETFs, which is just it's pent-up demand from institutional investors, from investors who want access because they don't want to custody themselves, what have you. But look, again, if you zoom out to the macro level, the total ETF market, only 1 or 2% of the total ETF market is crypto. I will bet anybody here that a year from now, that will be more than 1 or 2%. There's going to continue to be inflows. And yes, you can take a snapshot of time and say, okay, there's a billion left Bitcoin ETFs or whatever the data you cited a moment ago. But if you zoom out a little bit further and say, okay, over 2026, do we really think crypto ETFs are only going to be 1 or 2% of the total ETF market? No chance.
What's your take on this too?
Again, do not miss the forest through the trees. This market is picking up speed with the ETFs. And as Brad stated there, when we zoom out and we see the bigger picture and the context of where the market is going, the price is going to go up, period. Don't know if it's going to be $100, $1,000, $2,000. I really am not concerned with the price as much as being positioned in this market and having enough skin in the game. So when it does go and it does pop, we're positioned correctly. That's the bigger macro there and what we want to look at. I'm telling you, you're not excited enough and you're not looking at the big picture. if you're worried about the day to day. And as we state here, crypto is going to crawl, walk, and then run. Listen to Brad say it in his own words.
Brokerage business, we see a lot of interesting activity where institutions that have been on the sidelines, maybe because of regulatory clarity, maybe because of risk aversion, for whatever reasons they've been on the sidelines, they're getting involved. And they're starting small, and they're going to walk, then they're going to crawl, then they're going to walk, then they're going to run. And I think it's going to create a lot of tailwind.
Again, it's about the tailwinds. We were in the crawl phase. We were dealing with litigation. We were dealing with an administration, which you're going to see here, everything, the tide is turning. But now we are starting to walk. And we're picking up that pace. And we're going to start running in 2026. It's going to be a full-on onslaught to crypto, and we're going to have millions of people, because it's becoming mainstream, as we're going to see in this Fox News video here in a minute. It is becoming mainstream, and all those folks that have no idea, they do not have the knowledge that you and I may have. And if you're brand new, that you're learning, you are in the early stages of watching a revolution, a change to the financial infrastructure, which you will also hear here in a minute in the last video when we talk about tokenization and where the broader market is going. I'm telling you, you ain't fired up enough about what's going on. But how about this? The CFTC came out today and they're launching, talking about Binomial and the crypto's future trading that is going to go on, spot trading, opening up an exchange that is going to be federally regulated. Do you understand, ladies and gentlemen? We have the full strength and the administration behind it, along with these agencies pushing those tailwinds absolutely as fast and as hard as they possibly can do. Absolutely a phenomenal time and environment to be involved in these assets. Let's listen to what they have to say about the CFTC and what is going on there. And again, when you listen to this, think of the bigger picture. Think about who is behind this and the agencies that are pushing those tailwinds for us to make the price go up.
Right now, as we all know, you can buy and sell crypto online already, but this is the first time, like you said, a spot trading platform is getting the full backing of the federal government. So why does this even matter to investors that the CFTC is backing this new Binomial platform? These other platforms are legally operating, but here's the catch, Maria. They're often called the Wild West. Basically, it's buyer beware. We've seen this with the collapse of FTX and customers eventually losing out on huge profits they would have had their money stayed safe in the market. They would have had it. Now with this Binomial platform, there are stricter standards for transparency, security, and consumer protection to prevent an FTX-style collapse.
And this is why I say most of these coins, a lot of these projects will go to zero, because the government's coming on board and they are going to scrutinize this environment. And the assets that are going to win are the ones that have been upfront, have been regulated, i.e. like Ripple and XRP, and have the full backing of the United States government. And now the CFTC is putting their mark on the Binomial exchange, saying, yes, we're here and we want to protect everyone so we don't have the FTXs like we did in the past and people lose their money in this environment. That is why it's been critical, and I've been talking about it all 2025. The laws, the Clarity Act that is coming is going to help cement that foundation and provide truth, clear regulatory guidance. That's what's coming. That's the bigger picture, and it's very exciting to see. And to finish this off, we're going to talk to Larry Fink here, or he's going to be talking to us about tokenization. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've held on to the end of this video, because this is the playbook. They are telling us exactly what is going to happen going into 2026 and the future. This is the playbook, and you're in the right environment if you're in the right projects that I like to speak to. But let's listen to Larry state it, and then we'll finish up this video and talk about some final things.
About how technology is going to be reshaping the financial services area too, and the need for democratization, as Secretary Besson talked about, the democratization of investing in America. If we could digitize every asset, so if we could digitize all stocks and bonds and have it more seamless going from a digital wallet of cash or stable coin, the whole idea of tokenization of all assets, including real estate ultimately, is to just reduce huge friction costs, making investing easier, simpler. You could, as the secretary was talking about this one account, you could do this all through your app, and it's going to allow a more, I would say, a free-flowing process of investing.
Bring it back on the screen here to finish this up, but a free-flowing financial system. The playbook is there. They are going to tokenize, digitize, as he was saying, everything, all of Wall Street. If they can tokenize the air that we breathe, they're going to do it, because at the end of the day, they are here to make money, and they know this is a more efficient environment to do that in, using crypto as the backbone, as the foundational level for everything. And that's why this market is going to absolutely explode, and why not paying attention to price is so vitally important. The price does not matter. The bigger macro picture is what matters. But I absolutely hope you got something out of this video tonight. I hope you understand the bigger picture. I hope you're absolutely fired up with having a part in the ownership. Remember, you own the technical stack, the stack that they're going to run all of this on. They're going to digitize and tokenize everything. You own the software. You own the product that is going to be utilized in that, with XRP, XLM, HBAR, SHX, if you haven't paid attention to that one. Again, a little hint, if you've hung on to the end of this video, something that you may want to look at, not financial advice, but the world is changing, the financial infrastructure is changing, and you're in the right place at the right time, and we've all been blessed to be able to have this opportunity, but it's going to start to run thin, because as things start to run and they embrace all this fully and the laws come into play, the Clarity Act, everything's going to start to take on. And as Tom Lee had said, he thinks we're at the bottom of this market and we only have up to go. The cycles have changed. So with that, again, please be safe out there. Hit the likes, smash the notification button, as it just will update you when I put out new videos and new content. Go out to the website, drop any content that you would like to see me try to create out here for you, because this journey is absolutely tremendous, fun, and exhilarating. But with that, until next time, Zip is out.